Hello, Dominic here from the Bournemouth Writing Festival. I'm very much looking forward to welcoming you on the 26th, 27th and 28th of April 2024 to Bournemouth Town Centre for the second Bournemouth Writing Festival. Now, if you came last year, you may have gone to a genre breakfast, and I'm pleased to say we are going to be repeating these this year. Now, a genre breakfast takes place in local cafes around the town centre. And if you write in a certain genre, you go to the cafe that features your genre and you can meet other writers writing within that genre. So, for example, if you write poetry, if you write for young adults, if you write horror or women's fiction, there will be a cafe that will be hosting that particular genre. So it's a really nice environment, as I said, to meet other writers writing in your genre. And last year it was so popular, and people swapped numbers and created WhatsApp groups and became friends and collaborated. So these take place at 9 o'clock on the Saturday and Sunday of the Writing Festival before the main programme starts. So if you write poetry, you head over to the cafe that is hosting the poetry genre breakfast, and did so for all the others. Now, the full list of genres and cafes are on the website, so have a look and go along. They are free to attend, but we do ask you to support our local independent cafes to buy coffee or breakfast or whatever that might be. We have over 80 writing events and activities happening over the 3-day festival, and I'm very pleased to say that one of those speakers is joining me today, and that's Alice Fowler. Now, Alice is talking about marketing your short stories like a human dynamo. I love that title. And her talk is going to be at 12 o'clock on Sunday, the 28th of April at the Pavilion Dance. Now, her talk directly follows Paul Draper's talk, The Fundamentals of Writing Short Stories. And if you were there at last year's festival, his talk was very, very popular. So he is returning. He's at 10 o'clock, and Alice, it was at 12 o'clock. So if you write short stories, this is a great little segment for you to come to on the Sunday. Now, Alice Fowler is an award-winning writer of short stories, which focuses on human nature in all its frailties and flaws. She won the Historical Writers Association short story competition, as well as the Wales Festival of Literature short story competition, as well as being long-listed and shortlisted on a whole host of different writing competitions, including the Bournemouth Writing Prize at Bournemouth University. So, Alice, welcome.
Thank you. It's very great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Okay, so your talk is Market Your Short Stories Like a Human Dynamo. So tell us a little bit about you. I know you started in journalism and then kind of switched over to writing short stories. So tell us about your writing journey.
Sure. Well, yes, I was a journalist for many, many years. I was a print journalist, first in local papers, then in national papers, and I was an interviewer and wrote features. Loved all that. But probably, if I'm very honest, in my heart of hearts, I did always want to write creatively. And I began just to dabble with that when I have twin boys who are now 17, but just when they were very young, I was, when I could, snatching a few moments to write. And what I've really found is just as they've grown up a little bit, my life has become a little bit less busy and I can focus on my creative writing. And I've done that by particularly joining classes. I think that's a brilliant thing for, writers at the early stages to do. It's great to read your work, share it, get feedback. I think that's hugely valuable. So I've been doing all that, writing stories, and I've, yes, as you mentioned, entered competitions. They've been really fruitful for me, and I've managed to use them almost as having been a journalist, I thrive on deadlines, and I've often tried to use a short story competition effectively as a deadline, just to get the words down. But it's been a big step for me, having, some short stories that I knew were doing well, to then thinking that I could actually compile them into a collection. That's one thing I'll talk about at Bournemouth, just the real mechanics of that, how you order the stories, how you might come up with a title. There's some conventions within short story collections, which I think are worth just being aware of, whether or not you follow them, but good to be aware of. And then the second part of the talk, probably the major part, will be all about how you go from being, a fairly unknown writer to with a small publisher, probably, if it's short stories. That's the case for me. My publisher is Fly on the Wall Press. They're an indie press in Manchester. So I felt quite an onus on me to promote the stories, really, but I've run with that and I've learned a huge amount. I've actually really enjoyed it. And that's what I'll be trying to convey, I think, in Bournemouth, just how to do that and have fun.
So I'm guessing that part of your strategy to market your short stories is entering competitions. So I'm sure that's going to be part of your talk. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of the things that you're going to be talking about within your session?
Okay, well, I certainly could talk about that side of things. I think that's almost a session in itself. But yes, I could talk about, I think one thing I've learned throughout all this is really to plan. So to think quite carefully what's going to help you in various different ways. And I've always thought myself, if entering a competition helps me write a story, whether or not it is shortlisted or longlisted or nothing at all, that's still helpful. So I think that's a very good thing to go into competitions with that mindset, because they're incredibly competitive. You may not get anywhere and you have to be very prepared for that potential disappointment, let's say.
I hear you, because I've entered competitions, but also we have a poetry and flash fiction competition for the Writing Festival this year. And yes, we've got a lot of entries already.
Yes.
So let me understand. So when you're entering competitions, do you have kind of a short story kind of, what's the word? Repository, I suppose, and then you choose which short story to go into competition? Or do you write a short story specifically for a competition?
I do the latter, actually, almost always. And this may just be coincidence, but in my experience, when I write a story specifically for a competition, with an awareness perhaps of who the judges are, and ideally, if that competition has published an anthology with past entries, if I've read that anthology, and I know we're not copying, but I think there's some kind of quite deep absorbing process goes on in a writer's brain, at some conscious level. But anyway, yes, if I write specifically for a competition, I seem to have a better success rate. Yeah, is that the case for you?
No, I've never done that, really. I've never written anything specifically for competition. I kind of said, oh, that's a competition which looks interesting, which my story could fit into, but I've never really thought about it the other day and like look into who the judges are. But it makes complete sense, but I suppose it's extra work, isn't it? So,
yes, it is, exactly, it is. Yeah, but it was quite good for me, because it meant that through doing that my stock of short stories increased. And then of course you have to be aware that certain stories, competitions, if your story is published because it was second placed or third placed in a way, then you can't enter it for future competitions. So you do have to think carefully about and learn as you go, I'd say, for sure.
Well, that's such great insight. So tell us, so those that do come along to your talk, what are you hoping that they take away? What are you hoping that when they leave, they'll be able to do or have learned?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that there is a market for short story collections. And this was a big realization for me. For ages, I thought, yes, I can see my stories are doing well. There's something there, but I can't get them out there. But that's really a misconception, and the wonderful reception that The Truth Has Arms and Legs, that's my short story collection, the wonderful reception that it's had just has really proved that. So, be positive, don't hesitate from giving things a go. You learn as you go. It's always worthwhile trying. That's one thing. And then Another thing I'd say is that if you can get to that point where your collection is accepted, then really how you can use the skills that you have already as a writer, how you can harness those and to your advantage, and to really, market your stories, get them out there, write articles promoting your collection. There's a huge amount that as a writer can come quite naturally. So I'm going to talk about that.
Wonderful. Okay, well, you've obviously got huge experience in and success in short stories and competitions and getting your name out there, which is the name of the game when we are writers. So thank you so much for joining me today, Alice. That's Alice Fowler, Market Your Short Stories Like a Human Dynamo. And that's on Sunday, the 28th of April at 12 o'clock at the Pavilion Dance. Thank you so much, Alice.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to meeting you in person as well, and looking forward to seeing everybody that's coming to the Bournemouth Writing Festival. Tickets are on sale now. So all the best and take care. Bye.